Shearer. Hello, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of The Studio with Paul Shearer. On today's episode, I'm joined by my good friend and fantastic DJ and producer, Marc Hall, chef as well. Let's not forget chef
thanks.
as well. How you getting on, mate?
I'm good, mate. Hi.
Brilliant.
I want to say fantastic, but maybe just edit that bit.
And a pillar of modesty as well. That's what I like to
I'm
see.
getting there, mate. I'm getting there. So
Oh, good. That's brilliant, mate. That's brilliant. Well, mate, we'll just go right back to the start then, right? Let's just talk about how you got into music, how you started, what you started on. Take us right back.
First of all, thanks for having me down, mate. It's
More than welcome, mate. More than
pleasure, aye. So going right back, mate. So I used to, obviously, I'm right into my dance music, mate. My house, my techno, and that, right. But I remember I've got an older sister. She's like 5-6 years older than me, and she used to listen to all the kind of dance stuff of the 90s. You know what I mean?
The Resurrection era kind of stuff.
Aye, right. And I used to slate her for it, right. But I'm going way back, like before I even get into music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were listening to like radio all the time, radio cheese music. You know what I mean? But so I used to slate her all the time. You know what I mean? And then she converted for dance music into kind of like rock, grunge. She was like right into Marilyn Manson and all that kind of stuff. So I slagged her even more.
That's quite a change, isn't it? You don't often.
It is, mate. It is obviously, but
change.
the whole scene, like Castle Hill and that, it's like loads of people were into the res music and that
Yeah.
when she was growing up. So it's only natural you do what everybody else does.
Everybody
But
else is doing that,
she took another turn. You know what I mean? And then slowly but surely, I started getting into like dance music. You know what I mean? But it was mainly kind of the trance stuff, kind of late 90s kind of trance gear and that. But my mate Mick Cameron, you know Mick, you mentioned him earlier. So Neil McClafferty came to him one day and had a set of decks, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to do guitar now, so there's the decks."
You want them, aye?
So that was it. It kind of started. It was all the hardcore records and that.
Right.
I was never really a big fan of hardcore, right? But
same,
because
mate,
we had
same.
the vinyls and that, there we were trying to mix them and that. But this is like going way back.
So what age would you have been then?
Oh Christ!
You're presented with your first set
about
of decks.
13 or something.
13-year-old. Wow,
maybe
mate.
13, 14. But we didn't play them that often. You know what I mean? They were just there. But that's obviously we're like, oh, wicked. So every time we were in mix, that's all I wanted to do was go on the decks.
Decks on, right.
And then my pal Bush got a set and all. We were in Bush's quite a lot, just in every night, a few doobies and all that kind of stuff. But in the same again, I just wanted to play the decks. So Snicker was the same, you know, Snicker quite
Snicker,
well.
Aye. Remember you saw it. It's every name you've mentioned. I remember a few years ago. It's brilliant, man.
So Snicker and all. So like the two is just kind of felt.
Shout out to Snicker, Bush, Mick Cameron.
Aye. So the boys, aye. So that was it. It was like we knew what decks were. We were interested in it. So I got a wee shitty set. It was James Ramage sold me my first set of decks, belt drives, and a wee shitty for £100 it was. You know what I mean? Like I was like, aye, geez it, but didn't know what decks were, what belt drives were.
What it even meant.
Didn't know it. So I just thought I'll take them anyway. But murder, absolute murder. Because they're no direct drive, so it's a belt.
So explain to me the difference, mate, 'cause I don't know much about
so
decks and
your direct drives, you just switch it on and it's like a kind of motorised platter that turns it.
Yep.
Whereas the belt drive it's just like a Hoover basically. It runs in the
belt
spins.
driven older? Is that the older
just
technology kind of thing?
Aye, but like see if you were just buying a wee kind of one to play your records in the house and that.
Some of them if you were just putting
drives.
vinyl through your stereo kind of thing, not actually DJing and stuff, right?
But this was a set of decks for DJing, but obviously just a cheap, you know what I mean?
Right,
so cheap, man. But after a few months on them, you get used to the feel of them and that, you know what I mean? So obviously practiced on them for a good few years, and then I buggered off down south. I had like a scholarship in the cooking and that, so we'll get back to the chefing part, right? So,
cool, mate.
But while I was away, Snicker went and bought a set of techniques, like top of the range. So after I came back after 2 years, and I felt, I'm behind here, man, you know what I mean?
Right.
But obviously Snicker right in amongst it, buying vinyls all the time and that, so that was it. I felt like just obviously wanted to continue where I left, so I went out and bought a new set of decks. This time they weren't techniques, but they were direct drive. and they never let me down. They were amazing.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? So that was it, into that, buying records every week. Fucking
So you reckon that the shift from the old driven turntable to the new actually helped with the learning
100%.
process, kept you playing,
100%.
kept you
And you,
achieving goals?
aye,
Yeah,
and you actually kind of you get good on them. Obviously, it's the
Yeah.
same weighting really. But the direct dives were like you just touch it and it's back in beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the belt drives, you were all over the place.
Yep.
So it just felt, this is a bit more kind of
Clean. Works
aye.
better.
This is like what we're after.
Yep,
So
yep.
used to buy vinyls and that for ages, and then I decided I'm going to go to college and kind of do a wee bit of sound production and that. It's like I want to kind of learn how to make my tunes, because we used to do it on the PlayStation. It's like you get Music Generator or something it was called, or Music 2000.
What a game!
Aye, it was
Was
like
it
a PlayStation
PlayStation?
game, and it
What?
was like that, just like that
You're
page.
kidding me,
No.
on, man. I've never.
I
I'm
swear,
a
I've
avid
still got the
gamer,
game.
There's no way I didn't
Mate,
know about
I've
this.
still
You know
got
what I
the
mean?
game. I've
Right.
not got the PlayStation 2 or anything like that enough,
Right.
but I've still got the game.
No way, mate. Wow, right. Continue.
Aye, obviously it was very limited. You only had maybe like 25 channels and like a certain amount of kind of loops and that, but you didn't get to create stuff. It was all just loop based.
Like garage, like early garage band
aye.
kind of vibes. Yeah.
So-
right, cool.
But it was great, you know what I mean? Making like techno tunes and that.
On the
playing the
that's
PlayStation, mate. I
amazing,
swear to
mate.
God,
I
it was
never
brilliant, man.
believed it. No.
So that was like my very first taste of like producing music, mate. You know what I mean? or obviously getting a taste of it. But I loved every minute of that, mate. It's like it was on all the time. I've got to a spell, but you've used all the samples
Yeah,
100 times. You know what I mean? So, but you were still making different tunes.
You get that same, even like when I started using Ableton, I got to that same point when I'd used all the pre-made samples in
Aye.
it, and I'm like, right, I'm over that now. So I know the moment. You
Aye.
mean.
So, but it wasn't until I was like maybe, I think it was 21. No, let me see, 22 maybe. I was working in a Cameron house and I was working 60, 70 hour weeks and that, mate. I was doing my patterning.
I can, mate. Honestly, I can only imagine. It's as a chef, it's a hard life, innit? Do you know
So
what I mean?
I was like, I'm kind of decent now. You know what I mean? I'd been away for 2 years doing the same thing and then come straight back into it at the Cameron house. Like, I need to give myself a break, man. So I thought I'm going to go to college and learn how to make some music and that. You know what I mean? Maybe at a place.
Course.
Snicker had actually went to this course when I was away down south.
Where did you go?
So it was called James Watt at the time.
I've been
So-
there as well, mate. I've two people I've had in for podcasts have randomly went. So I went to this college called James Watt. I was there, no, bro.
No way.
Aye, mate, aye.
So I went there for 2 years, mate, and learned how to kind of, obviously it was a course on music, so you did everything for
Yep.
like business, like all that kind of stuff,
Performance, promotion, and production.
acoustics
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all this kind of stuff. But I just wanted to learn how to use
How
the
to work
programs. You know what I mean?
program, yeah, mate, totally.
But obviously that got me into it, and it got me into like I'd used Reason maybe a couple of times. Robert Johnson for Helensburgh Direction.
Yep.
Don't know if you know him.
I know of him. I don't know
Um,
him personally, but I've
so,
got him on social.
He used to use Reason in that, and we would swap samples and that. So I had like a wee kind of cracked version of it. And then obviously went to college, and that's what they used. So I was like, brilliant.
cracked versions and all that.
Mate, mate, I didn't buy a synth or a programmer that for years.
Did you know somebody who done all the who done it all?
Aye, and
That's
obviously been in
brilliant,
that
man.
circle with the guys in college and that, it was just everybody's
There
out
you
with the
go.
discs. This is before like the pen sticks, you know what I mean?
Wow,
This was just all with
mate,
the discs
brilliant,
here, and you go, that's like
But that was all your plugins and all that on
aye,
that as
that was,
well.
aye,
People were cracking
samples
the
and all that.
plugins. I
Aye,
didn't even
this
know
was
they'd done
before
that.
the cloud and all this, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So crack plugins, like hundreds of samples and that. But you just go online and download them, mate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? What was it, LimeWire and all that? You know what I mean?
Aye. I remember, obviously, like I have used like programs over the years, but they were always shoddy. Like
Aye.
things always didn't work right, or it crashed, or do you know what I mean?
It's always the
Ever
same.
since I've got the real version of Ableton and that, I've been like, oh my god,
Second
this
to-
is just so
it
much
runs a
better.
dream, I
you
know.
know?
It's like I've went professional.
Aye,
know
I
what I mean?
suppose that's it. Innit?
But aye, so we'd off obviously pass these out discs and that, and obviously learning how to use Reason. You know what I mean? That's obviously what I had. So I was like, this is brilliant. You know what I mean? I thought they might have used Ableton, but that was just in the wee studios, and then we had big studio days. So we were in this proper kind of studio. You know what I mean? Soundproofed and that, and you had the big desks.
And James Watt, you mean?
And James
It
Watt,
was like
aye.
the big room in the middle, wasn't it? With all the
Aye,
wee
and then the
rooms
wee
around the
pods,
outside.
so obviously you'd have seen that.
Aye.
So in the big ones they used Pro Tools. So obviously they had Reason on it and all. So obviously learning the two. But obviously using Pro Tools, it's more we've got people in playing guitar and we're recording all
We're
that kind of
setting up
stuff.
mics to
Aye.
accurately record
Aye, and
drums
that's
and
it, mate,
stuff, which
aye,
is a
and
big different, a whole other thing. You know what I mean?
100%. But don't get me wrong, it's like I know my way about.
Yep,
So
yep.
I could probably set you up. It
Yep,
wouldn't be
aye.
the best setup, but
Aye, but and even just for knowing the program too, you would put your mic into a place that your signal was you were showing a good signal, and that's all. That's
Aye.
really what you're trying to
Aye.
do. So you would be able to do
And
it. It's just
exactly.
a different.
It's-
You're taking a slightly different path if you're working towards working with bands and acoustic
100%,
instruments as opposed to.
but
like,
it's a good thing to know, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is,
for sure,
over the
mate.
cables and all that nonsense, but it kind of, you can transfer it into your digital,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yep.
Obviously sends, returns, all that kind of
Yeah,
nonsense.
yeah, that's like transferable skills, definitely.
Aye,
Mm.
so, and then obviously I found out that you can obviously merge the two, because I liked, there was certain plugins on Pro Tools and that, there was like a Boom, it's called, and it's like a drum machine, you know what I mean? And it had like a wee sequencer on it, so you could draw in your wee sequencer pattern and then just record it into Pro
Yep.
Tools. But obviously Reason's good for all that stuff, but you find a kicking in and you've got to process it yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas this was getting you processed
Aye,
drum machine, so I was
aye,
like,
yep,
this
yep.
is brilliant. So I used to
Definitely,
kind of merge the two.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. It's
It's called, like, is it Rewire or it is Rewire, I think. And then you've got to turn Reason round, so you see the back of the machines, and you've got to wire it yourself.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So you do all that kind of
Aye,
stuff.
like you're actually moving the wires in the,
Aye,
on
in
the
the ba-
software.
aye.
Aye, aye.
And then on Pro Tools, you would have 10 channels for Reason coming in, and then you would send them to 10 audio channels so you can record into. You know what I mean?
You can record your thing from Reason straight into
Pro Tools
then,
and that.
yeah.
Aye. So that's how I did it for a while. And my mate gave us Ableton, a cracked version, and I put it in, and I was like, what did I do? Just a grey blank
Grey
screen.
Aye.
I was like,
I had that same experience with it as well. And after even watching people using it, I thought, right, cool. I think I know what I'm doing.
Aye,
here.
aye.
And then I
So-
loaded it up.
and
I
it
was
is, it's actually, it's so easy to use, you know what I mean? But the
Aye.
first time I just looked at it and I was like, I couldn't even get a drum beat on. I was like, and I patched it. I actually removed it for the computer.
just completely.
Aye,
done
and
it.
that was like 4 years or something.
Aye.
I just used Reason in it, but I wasn't producing all the time. I wasn't like,
Aye,
know
you
all
weren't
the time.
putting stuff out. Like,
I've
consistently,
actually
just-
still got some old tracks that I made. We're using Reason and Pro Tools and that. I've not got the
Bring that-
files.
Bring that mic right close
Oh,
to your mouth.
sorry, mate, aye.
So I just sort of did a little drop away.
I've still got the tracks. Like I've bounced some doing that. I've not got the files to make them, re-edit them or whatever. But I've still got some of the tracks in that. And
Oh,
it's,
you've already bounced them from
aye,
years ago,
so,
right?
but
cool.
it's listening to it and you laugh.
That's funny to listen back to.
It
though,
is funny,
you know
mate.
what
And it's
I
like
mean?
my
'Cause
very first track I made in college was on it, and my very last track that I made in college.
That's interesting though as
aye,
well, mate, to see
aye.
the difference.
So
you know
one's
what I
just
mean?
like I didn't really know how to properly use the program, so that was my very first experience of making a full tune. You know what I mean? Without just messing about.
Yeah, yeah.
And somebody showed me, right, this is how you make a tune. You know what I mean? It was only just making it. There's no processing or anything like that on it. It's just like me flinging samples in and creating samples. And
Aye,
that.
getting making a few samples that work, making a beat that works, like, and you're getting it
Aye.
all together.
So,
right?
but it's the
but no-
contrast between the first and the last. You know what I
Aye,
mean?
that's so amazing. That would be lovely to listen back.
Aye,
to.
and the last one's like a kind of like heavy, over processed, over. It's like
You've
so,
learned how to do everything, but
it's
know how
so
to
bad, man.
do it like subtly. You know?
But obviously, listen to a track that I would make now to then the difference is night and day.
Night
And
and
all.
day,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? A lot
totally.
cleaner, a lot kind of smoother. But aye, it was good to kind of listen back, and I still listen to him at the odd time. You know what I mean? And work with the speaker on like that. It's good, but it's shite. It's shite.
Well, mate, I think that's super important, man. I think like musicians, artists, creatives, any type, we're always constantly filtering. We're always running a filter system across everything that we do. You know what I mean? And that's like all based on what you've learned, how you've changed, the music you've made since you've grown,
Aye,
evolved.
that's
You know
it.
what I
Aye,
mean?
it's-
And
the
so
aim is now. I'm at the stage where let's just get the final touches, like
Mhm.
mix downs in it. I'm kind of still learning a bit of this
Yeah.
process. But I'm almost there with it all. You know what I mean?
Good
We've actually
mark,
sent
good mark.
tracks away to a label. Hopefully, we can get that signed.
What, you've just done that recently, or aye?
So me and Gal have done a wee track together.
Yeah, right, cool, mate. That's
and we
great. I have
sent-
heard it. He's let us hear wee bits
Aye,
and bobs. I
so-
don't know if it's the same one or if it's just
It
one. or
probably
two.
will be, mate.
Yeah.
Aye. We've done a few together, but this is the one we've sent away to a label Deep State, ran by a DJ called Grum. So he's a Scottish DJ.
I've
named
seen his
Graham.
name about
Aye,
that
aye.
as well. Aye, aye.
So he's said like, get it finished, then we might take it on. You know
Brilliant, man, brilliant. That's
so,
really good.
Aye,
So is that the first time? This is
so this is the
thing you've
first time.
sent away?
Aye,
Yep.
aye. It's like obviously it's only been the past kind of 2 years that I've actually started taking it a bit seriously.
Yeah.
Like I'm learning now. I'm taking it in. I'm creating better music, but. I've always been like, it's not good enough yet. It's not good enough yet. But it's just one of the ones. I'm at a stage now where I'm like, well,
When
just
when is it going to be
aye,
good enough?
but
Just
I'm
let's
comfortable
go, you
enough
know
now.
what
I
I
can
mean?
put
Aye.
a track together
Yeah,
and I
mate,
can make it sound all right through the speakers. You know what I mean? So I'm still learning all that. But we're getting help. The boy Grum, he actually came to the studio a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And he sat through it at working ways, and we're just trying to kind of fix the vocal a wee bit before it's finished. So excited about that.
Brilliant. That's great news, mate. That's great
Aye,
news.
so there'll be more on that soon. But apart from that, I've no set anything out yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm just kind of still trying to.
Oh, mate, I think that's good as well. I think a lot of people fuck their chances up in music by having to get everything out too quick.
Aye.
And they put it out too quick and it's shite and people lose interest, you know what I mean? And I think that's a crucially important part of the process too, mate. So, you know, that's
like my music's changed and how I make my music and that, but it's like now I'm starting to find a kind of a sound that I can make.
You've got your through time. You've really starting to develop your own style and stuff. That's good.
It's like
great.
we kind of bits of melodic stuff in there, but kind
so so say you were starting a tune right from you've just opened Ableton. What's your kind of process? You know?
So I've got like a blank.
You go drum beat first. You go bass line first.
It's to be honest, mate. I don't have a specific way, but I've created like a blank canvas, so all the channels are made already.
Yep.
And it's just something to start afresh. So I can basically load this up, and then I've already got like MIDI kicks in. So I just find a kick drum and put it into the machine, and my kick's ready to go.
Yeah.
So all that kind of stuff. So it's just I pretty much start with my beat in that. I find the key, whatever key it's in, G.
So were you meaning? So see when you were saying that, were you meaning like your kind of like effects and EQs and stuff like that? You've got all that set up and ready to go.
I've got the channel set up,
and that's it.
And then
that's brilliant.
I've got it's all EQ'd. Obviously you tweak it, but it's just a kind of bass to start.
Aye. You've just got it all set up, but then you'll do the subtle changes.
That's it. Aye. So and I've got like one for the sub, and then when you go into the mastering chain, it's like the frequencies are cut out to make it.
So you're starting your project with all that already done. That's amazing. You know what I mean? So over the years, you've realised that these are the things that you're going to do at the end up, so you have all that finished from opening up the project. That's awesome, mate.
And obviously, you can go in and edit it. It's no kind of set in stone.
Totally, yeah.
It just makes your workflow so much faster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've built this up over the past kind of maybe 18 months, and still tweaking it. You know what I mean? Still adding bits and taking bits out and that. So when I start a tune, I can just go straight away. And I usually, as obviously I said a minute ago, I don't have a way I kind of start it. But usually it is a beat, a kick, and it's finding a kick and
something to work with the kick,
that sounds really good.
That. Yeah.
So that's how I go with that, and then like bass in and sub in or whatever. So, but it's going well, mate.
No, that's brilliant, mate.
In the studio quite often.
It's just it's getting me thinking about my workflow, like the way I approach the tunes and that now, and like all of the songs I've made up on the computer so far are the opposite for that. They're all like all the bits are there to make them full songs, but not a single thing is EQ'd or compressed or nothing. Do you know what I mean? In any way, so but it's cool because it's obviously for me to hear that. Then that's obviously that highlights that's a thing that will help my own process, mate. Do you know what I mean? Which is part of the reason why I'm doing all this. Do you know what I mean? So this is great. You know, that's brilliant, man.
Been in the studio with Stephen and Woody and all. It's like you're learning all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously Danny, he's kind of thereabouts now. He's obviously good on the keyboard. So we were in there all night, and he's putting down some keys, and I'm looping them up and stuff like that. So it's going well now, mate.
No, that's really good, mate. No, I'm glad to hear it. So what is the kind of what's the kind of next steps then, right? So you've got some tracks, you're sending some tracks out. He's looking for gigs. Is there gigs booked? Is it looking for festival slots? What's the kind of procedure?
Well, in terms of the DJing, mate, I'm not really kind of pursuing that, you know. Obviously, through the boys, if we pick up a wee gig and that.
You'll do it.
Aye. But I'm not actually kind of pursuing any kind of gig now. I'm hardly ever on the decks now.
So you're focusing on the production.
On production.
Yeah, excellent.
Just obviously busy the new with the wee man. He's a handful in the shop and all.
Yep.
It's finding the time to kind of do it all, but I'll still DJ. It's like riding a bike, mate. You don't forget.
So you're working full time in the pizza shop as
So
well.
I'm in there full time now in Bangin Pizza.
Yep, yep.
And then obviously no longer the wee man's too. So it's
So
just
you've got a pretty full plate at the moment.
aye, the new. It's like obviously when he's a wee bit older, I'll have a bit more time.
Yeah.
But I'm finishing shifts in the shop and then I'm going to studio and I'm in there to maybe 2 in the morning. I'll do that kind of 2-3 nights a week.
Yeah, and that late, aye, wow.
Aye, it's because it's really the only time. My days off, obviously, I've got family time.
You've got stuff
You know
to
what I
do
mean?
then
Aye,
as well.
it's,
Yeah.
obviously I work nights in the pizza shop, so got the kids during the day. Kerry will come in for work and then I'll go to work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you don't really have the time to actually get down and even a full day in the studio. It's like hard to come by.
Yeah, mate.
It's only it's temporary until he's a bit older, and then we're jamming. But
it's easy. It sounds like you've got a format to
aye,
go with.
it's a routine, mate.
I
And
think that's part of figuring out the routine. Is part of how you can still do music,
and it works.
When,
you know what I mean? I maybe lose a wee hour or two sleep here or there, but I need to get in the studio and do what I want to do. You know what I mean? So
totally, man, totally.
It's handy. Plus the shop is right across the road for the studio, so you fall out a shop and then you're in the studio making tunes within 5 minutes. So
that is a good thing. Aye, that's
it's so handy. You know what I mean? And obviously working with Woody and Gal and they're into it and all. So like 9 times out of 10 they'll come to studio and all. So very productive the new. So I've got a kind of few tunes that I'm thinking right, they're nearly finished. I'll maybe sit down with Woody and go through the last bits and bobs because obviously he'll help with how the tune sounds through the speakers. I'm kind of novice on that, producing it, mastering it, you know what I mean? I've always got to go back in and make subtle changes, like there's too bassy, it's no bassy. So I'm still kind of learning that side of the craft, but Woody's obviously producing tracks and releasing tracks for years, so he helps you with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Aye, so I'm hopefully going to be releasing more tracks in the next year or two, hopefully.
Yeah, man, cool.
That's the plan.
So just not looking for kind of DJing gigs and stuff just now and just focus entirely on production.
No, a couple of boys started a thing called DDS through lockdown. And it was just all the DJs for Dumbarton kind of doing a live stream every weekend. Do you know what I mean? Keeping us occupied.
That acronym was mine initially. I set up a thing called Dumbarton Debating Society about 8 years ago on Facebook. Aye, DDS. And I noticed that when I was just like, we had the old podcast at the time, the Fiery Scots. It was more kind of current affairs stuff and that, and it was like trying to get conversations and debates and that happening on topics like now you're on Facebook trying to get away from
well, we're actually watching a video we used in the Fiery Scots about 2 months ago. We were in the studio. We're just having a party and we got up to the studio. We were looking through old YouTube videos and there was one and it was the Fiery Scots. Who was the politician did you hit in?
Oh, Tommy Sheridan,
mate, that was the one. Aye,
that was good. That day.
So we watched that whole thing just in the studio, like having a party.
Did you watch it all?
We watched it all, mate. It was like 2 a.m.
Wow, man, that's funny.
We watched.
That was back in the day. That was my first foray into the world of podcasting and stuff like that.
Was that your first one?
Initially we had started that. They were doing a drive time kind of radio show on that station, and we had wanted to use the other studio facilities to just go in and record a monthly episode of a podcast. You know what I mean? And we done it, and then the guys in the show were like, "Just want to just do it on air and that." So it kind of got combined, and we done like a Sunday night 3-hour show where we would do all of the kind of podcast stuff as well. You know what I mean? But I sorry, mate. So I cut you off there. So the DJs, the boys have set up a DDS.
Aye, so it's just like a kind of group, a Facebook group, and they're actually holding live events now that we can get back into pubs and stuff like that. So
that's right. They were doing like live streams during, like DJing live streams during the pandemic.
And we've obviously kind of got in touch with other kind of groups that are doing the same. There's a few English ones. There's a boy for Italy, and there's a boy for Greece. And they're constantly like in contact with them. They're playing on our shows. We're playing on their shows.
So what is it called? If people wanted to find some of this, what's the page called?
Oh, so it's DDS Dumbartonshire DJs.
Dumbartonshire DJs sessions or something.
That's it. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. I was trying to think. Dumbartonshire DJ session on Facebook. We've got like Mixcloud. That's a platform that we kind of stream through and that kind of stuff. So, it's like sometimes I'll do that. I've not done it for a while, right enough for working full time in the shop now.
Is it like a YouTube channel and stuff as well? Is it
I don't think so, mate. No, it's mainly just for the kind of live streaming. And then we record the sets.
Yep.
And then we repost them back into the Mixcloud and share the links, and you can get back in and listen to that.
Right.
So
Cool, man. Cool.
aye, obviously met loads of new guys doing all that kind of stuff and all, so it's been good. But not on the decks now, man. It's very rarely.
Aye.
Aye.
Well, I think I can understand that, mate. Like, I can understand the desire as well. Like, if you're mixing tunes that are made by our people for so many years,
Aye.
there's going to come a point when you want. Why would you not want that to be your
Uh,
music that you're
that's it,
mixing? Do you know
aye,
what I mean? If
that's
you're
it.
so, if you want to do that, then you have to go down this process now, and
aye.
it makes sense. You know what I mean? I think it kind of there's a lot of parallels between like bands and that as well, because like you start off in bands and it's just such a buzz playing in bands. You'll play anything, whatever it is. But then eventually comes time when you really want to focus on writing a really good
Aye.
music or album, or you know what I mean. And
That's it.
and I suppose that's a kind of same thing. That's when you have to go and learn about mixing and mastering and recording, and you know what I mean. You're
Aye.
doing the same if you go
Aye.
down the production
Aye.
road. You know what I mean. Aye, that's interesting, man. That's really interesting. So cool, man. So what would you say then? What kind of music are you loving just now? What are you listening to? What's
So the new I listen to everything for like disco to techno. So the music varies every day, and the same way you're working with Gal, he's got quite a massive taste in kind of different music and stuff. So we're listening to different music every day. Everything from funk, soul, like, you name it. You know what I mean? Apart from like opera and shit like that. It's like
I like
aye.
a funk and soul is my wheelhouse. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
But I do love a couple of the classic opera tunes and on.
Aye,
And again,
well,
mate, you hear them,
I
you're
wouldn't-
like, that's beautiful. You know
Aye,
what I mean?
but it's not something you're going to
no,
listen to at
nah,
work when you're
work,
in
no,
the zone. You know
in the
what I mean?
kitchen.
Aye.
I've worked in
probably
many a
get
kitchen,
sacked.
but I never went into a kitchen. There was opera on,
Opera,
mate.
exactly, mate. So, but it is predominantly kind of dance music, and we do listen to our own kind of songs
So
and
who
stuff.
MD in particular that you're enjoying just now?
So a guy, Stefan Bodson, he's like classically trained
Cool.
kind of producer. He was into all the kind of classical instruments and that, and then he just transferred it to dance music. You know what I mean? And you can tell in his productions, man, it's like how you're making these sounds with the musical keys and all that. It's beautiful music, man. So he's one, and I kind of maybe try and take a wee bit of kind of inspiration from my music, or from his music into mine.
Cool, man. Well, in a kind of melodic sense.
I just trying to anyway. It's like years ago, like the tracks I make that I did kind of static, because there's no really any kind of key changes, and because I don't really know much about music in a sense. That sense,
it's like theoretic music theory kind of thing.
So
totally.
I don't know what keys and that. So I just stick to the kind of like generic kind of booming techno. You know what I mean?
But you can work with like noises as opposed to pitch and pitch notes. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and if it is a synth line, it's just do do do. You know what I mean?
So you're not having to, you don't need to have any knowledge of scales and chords or anything to make.
No, this is
work,
just like one finger on the keyboard going dee dee dee, and then messing about with the frequency on it, all that stuff. So
that's
very basic, mate.
Very basic, like from a music theory standpoint,
Aye,
maybe, mate, but
aye.
not from a creative standpoint. That's
Aye.
quality, do you know
And
what I
it
mean,
worked
mate?
techno. It works for techno. You know what I mean? But I've kind of started looking into a wee bit more of it, the kind of musical, putting a bit of music in it. You know what I mean?
Aye.
Key changing and
Well, mate, like,
octaves
see,
and.
I've had conversations with Woody and Gal many times about the like how to put like more like scales and chords and things like that, and it's not a lot. It's like not that hard to get a hold of it, but I just need to spend the time to learn a wee bit, and then once you've got it in one key, you don't need to worry about it. 'Cause you can just move it up. You select all and move it to the key you need it. Do you know what I mean? So like. But there's obviously a musical relationship between chords and notes, and it does help to be able to exploit that. Do you know what I mean? That's
so I just kind of try to kind of install that kind of stuff into my music, make it a bit more interesting. You know what I mean? Instead of this kind of static kind of techno vibe. But I bought a kind of couple of synths and packs and stuff like that recently. That's kind of helped me a wee bit. So Arturia, don't know if you've heard of them.
Yep.
So they're like a kind of software. They make like all the software synthesizers and drum machines, and so they were doing their whole pack, and they do like 30 virtual instruments. So it's like 20 pianos, all different types of pianos and keyboards, vintage ones for back in the day, and emulations of vintage ones and all that, the Moog and
Yeah, that's a big thing into that as well.
The one we did last night was at the Rhodes. We had a Rhodes kind of
That's my
keyboard
favourite. I
up.
love the Fender
And
Rhodes sound.
we were coming up with some beautiful chords last night, me and Gal, just hitting two chords. Because we never do that really if you just hit one. So we're hitting two keys now at the same time. That sounds good to that. So
that's good. I'm glad to hear that you are getting into that side of things.
aye.
Do you know what I mean?
Aye. And it's like the track we made last night. I'll let you listen to it, right? But it's not like the normal kind of dance track that we would make. It's a wee bit of a kind of dance track, but it's got like a Rhodes piano in it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of mellower, and Gal's put some vocals and that through it and all. So it's not like your pure dance floor banger that we would normally make. So
no, that's cool, but that's showing variety, mate. That's what it's.
That's it, aye.
You get, it's like anything else. You'll get bored if you just make the one thing all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
that's it, aye.
Stylistically as well, you would get bored. Like, it's cool if you've just got like for me, it's like house music, for example, is quality. But once you've got house music with real instrumentation and vocals, like soulful vocals, now that's really getting a spot for me, like Saint Germain or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
check a band called Crazy P.
I will do, mate.
Mate, you'll love them. You will love them.
I've never heard them before.
Live band, so it's a DJ. I had his thing in my name. What's his name? It'll come back to me. But it's a DJ, a vocalist, woman vocalist, and then a couple of guys on keyboards and bass guitar and that. Amazing, proper amazing, man. Kind of like disco funk.
Oh, sounds fantastic. Anyway,
right up my street. Modern and all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really funky stuff, man. So check them out. Well, that was in my head there.
Yeah, one will do, definitely.
Really good band too. And there was another one, a wee couple of Australian boys. I can't mind the name of them either.
Always what happens in it when you get on the spot with something. I know, the name always goes better.
But my mate Ian went to go and see them a few weeks back up in Glasgow, and he said they were absolute rocking. And they've got a YouTube video and they play their full album basically. In the first 4 or 5 tracks, they don't even take a break. They're just right into the next one. You know what I mean? So it's really, really good.
That's good. I like that, especially when songs like they have say a band's got 2 famous songs anyway, and they make a wee cool musical interlude to play the 2 of them right in each other. I absolutely love that. You know what I mean?
But they do it for about the first 4 or 5 tracks. You know what I mean?
That's great, man.
I don't know what's coming, but
don't need to get their name.
I've got them on Spotify and that, so I'll look them out before I go to bed. Definitely worth a look into. But what we're talking about before that.
We're just talking about what kind of stuff that you are listening to now and that, how it's impacting what you are doing, which is really cool. You know what I mean? Like getting into new territory with music, I think is like it's what it's all about, really. I think, you know, you can go, if you like country music or something, you can go and listen to that, and you can listen to the same thing all night, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? But if you're listening to, say, like especially dance music, it's quite repetitive anyway. In most cases, you need to find something to.
But there's that many, obviously varies. I mean, the whole scope. You've got 20, 30 different types of dance music. But just off the top of my head,
I know,
way
and
more
then
than
all
that.
the subgenres and all that. That's crazy. Like, it's and sometimes it kind of confuses me a bit. I know, like, is there a particular system to determine which? Like, I've seen some things talk about tempo, as if the tempo is the determining factor in the genre. But I've seen other things say it's instrumentation or whatever else. Like,
I can see there's just that much and that much variation now. It's like, I don't think you could put it into like a kind of bracket. Or because of the tempo and that is no.
I know that always seemed crazy, but online I have googled this question myself, like curious about what the connection is and why what this kind of structure is that everybody talks about when they're talking about like styles of dance music. You know what I mean? But no, it's quite a weird one, and it seems to be the same thing that's happening in like the hip hop world as well. Now there's like 25 million different subgenres of hip hop now. You know what I mean?
Aye. Okay, it's just that much now, but obviously it's so easy to make a track now. You know what I mean? So, and obviously the amount of sounds and that different sounds that are available to you on there. You know what I mean? It's no wonder it's growing.
I know, man. It's certainly listening to some of the music that's out there now, but is what you're like, cool. Some of that's great, but that ease, I think the technological advancements that have made production easier haven't always made the music better.
No,
let's say.
no. And you've got these auto mastering sites and all. So it's like you go on, you pay
Totally,
£5 a month,
you
and
just upload it to it, and
it'll master it in that for you. You know what I mean?
How
It's
can that possibly?
I know.
Like,
I know.
I've even considered doing that with the podcast. You know, I got looking into the process of dealing with a podcast. Like, there is sites that offer upload it to us, and we'll master it for you and that. But how can that? I mean, see if somebody's doing that I can understand that, right? Fair dues. You're just paying somebody to sit on a computer at the other end and do it. But the implication I'm getting is like it's AI or something.
So it's AI. So, but and it's done in like 2 minutes.
How can that possibly be a good mastering job? You know what I mean?
I did it once, and to be honest, I was like, it's not really that much
different.
It's a bit louder. You know what I mean? I suppose mastering, that's the whole objective, is to get
is to get your equalise your levels and get it boost what you need and cut what you need. But
obviously, you've got to get it right before. Because if you put it in and say your bass is too much, it's just going to muddy all the frequencies on the master at the low end, and so it's tricky. It's tough. You know what I mean?
That's why it seems to me like, how can it possibly be the case that a computer can do that for you in 2 minutes?
Well, maybe it's just taking obviously the audio information and it's saying, oh, by the way, the bass is a bit too much there.
That's fine,
we'll
right?
cut certain frequencies there.
There's got to be a human element to mastering as well. Like if we're talking about just mixing and then getting your levels and stuff, for sure, I can even see how AI could control that, because I'm just subjectively listening, moving a fader, that's fine, but an AI can go, all levels are between this and that, so we're going to keep it here. Like, that can make sense. But the mastering, the sonic element, like, that's where human ears are most necessary, is it not? I mean, that's what I would have always thought anyway.
They must have obviously sat for hours and hours and telling the computer this.
I'm sure there is that kind of process involved. I just don't really see how that can produce a good result.
Because every song's different.
Mate.
You know what I mean?
Human ears are so different for just what a computer's going to be able to read. And then obviously, like, the human ears hear something which stimulates a response in a human body, and then we have a reaction to it. It's like,
how does the computer do it?
The computer is taking the whole human element out of the equation. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe as a musician, I'm just para that they're going to make computers that can write music.
No, but obviously it's like, I want to learn all that myself. The mastering side, do you know what I mean?
Same, mate. Like, that's like that. But the whole bracket of what it is to learn to be a musician, like, and then obviously when that goes into recording and all the stuff, that's all great. That's all vital to learn, because you're understanding what that sound's actually doing as it's coming out the speaker. So you're going to be able to influence and impact that in a better way if you understand it. Do you know what I mean? But it's I can totally see a trend towards, like, well, if a computer can just write get everybody to write get all these samples, get the computer to do this, get the computer to master it, and then boom, that's me got.
And it's like most of the big DJs now, they don't master their own music. They send it off. You know what I mean?
To an expert. You've got a human expert.
And there's a boy from Scotland, Connor Dalton. Don't know if you've heard him. He's kind of like the big guy to go to run about here if you're wanting your tracks kind of mastered. Big in Glasgow. I think all the big kind of names in Glasgow use them and that kind of stuff. So obviously it is a kind of tough job. You know what I mean? It's, if you're getting music and it's no the greatest, it's like you're not going to make it that much better by mastering it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It's like polishing a turd. Basically, you need to have obviously like a decent
Totally. I know that makes sense. So like, you need to have a good song.
If you're getting sent shite, you know what I mean, you're trying to master it, it's still going to sound shite, just louder.
Just sonically a bit higher quality, but still shite.
So
totally.
I'm at that stage now, but it's like trying to get my music to that stage when a day bounce it down, it sounds decent. You know what I mean? So it's all about levels, and you need to give yourself kind of between 6 and 12 dB headroom on the master.
Yeah. So a lot of weight about that stuff as well.
So you've got to do all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And then I've actually just got a new mastering plugin, right? So Ozone, Isotope, have you heard of them?
Yeah.
So they've just brought out the new Ozone, but I get the last one, or even the one before that. And it shows you kind of everything on it. So you've obviously got your equalizer and your volumes, and it shows you.
Like industry standard plugin. This kind of
this is like
what's that cost you?
Well, this was like a kind of deal, ages ago, because they were bringing out the new one. Obviously, they were kind of putting this one out. I can't even remember how much it cost me, like 40 quid or
Oh,
something.
that's not bad. I thought you were
it's-
going to say much more than that.
No, like it is a bit harder not to buy. Sometimes maybe a bit dearer.
Yeah, yeah.
Aye,
It's fine for the odd plug-in, isn't it? But that starts to add up.
100%, mate.
Crazy.
Aye. So, I've got quite a few of them plugins and that, but you get some for free.
Mhm.
But just searching about people getting them. But I bought quite a good bit and all. You know what I mean? So it's like I do take it serious now. I'm
Aye,
like,
as soon as you take things serious, you want that. If you can buy
aye.
£100 plug-in, it's going to make your tunes 5% better at
That's
the
it,
end.
mate,
That's
aye.
awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
So that gives you all that ozone gives you all the kind of indications of how your tune is before you
before
kinda
you bounce
bounce
it
it down.
Yep.
And it's like different kind of it's LUFS, I think.
Everybody will know. CMD that does this kind of stuff, they'll know what we're talking about when we're saying bounce it down. But what Mark's talking about there is that you take all the tracks, the individual instruments of the song, and then you put it all down to one or two, like left and right. Do you know?
Aye.
So it's like that's it all combined and amalgamated at
Aye.
that point. And
So you can
can't,
put it onto a CD, you can put it onto.
it's a part of the process
Aye.
that you have to do the bouncing.
So maybe I should have been clear that.
No,
for the
it's
start.
like I'm just sure because a few people have said to me about things people have spoke about.
Aye.
And like I didn't know what you were talking about there, so
Aye.
I'm just trying to always make a point of remembering the
Aye.
technical stuff for
People
us.
might not
is,
know.
it might some folk might not know about
Aye,
that.
good
So.
shout.
But no, that's all good. On you go, please.
So but the ozone kind of gives you a lot of information that how your tune looks. You can actually see it visually a lot.
Yep. So how to all the indicators to show you how to master it better. Like if your tune's missing bass, it'll tell. If it's got too much bass, it'll tell you. If it's got too much high
so
end.
just looking at the kind of graphic equalizer and stuff like that. You know what I mean? If you just put your track, any track, pick a track, put it into Ableton, put a graphic equalizer on it, and you'll look at the track, and you'll always see the kind of lower end is up a wee bit higher on the left hand side, and as it moves along to the right, that's the higher frequencies coming in. So you can always kind of see like a track or where it should be sitting. It's like a slope, ever so slightly that wee kind of ski slope.
We've got we're just obviously everybody's just going to be listening to us as well, but Mark's gesturing gesturing with a right hand showing a slope going downwards and that. So it's like the visual indicator that you get using this bit of software to tell you what's happening.
So and most tracks are the same. You know what I mean? So you can obviously know if you're in this world, you know what the track should look like on the equalizer. So it's a wee indicator of if your hi hats are no loud enough, you'll see the dip at that section of the equalizer and stuff. That's the stage I'm at with my producing. It's like try to kind of learn all the intricate stuff like this.
The nuances now you've got.
It's easy to kind of put a drum machine in and put a bass line in and all that kind of stuff. It's obviously it's harder doing a good one, a good track, but all that stuff's kind of easy.
Compared to that's the first stage of it. That's the kind of recording some music in, but to make it sonically good is
totally different
is a whole other area of study almost. Let's say, you know.
I always say to like the wife, I'll put a tune on in the car, right, listen to this and that, and then 6 months later I'll put another version on. She'll be like, "You still working on that?" You know what I mean? Because through the speakers it doesn't sound how I want it to sound. You know what I mean? It's like I'll get there, but it's no.
It's not there yet, and you don't want to. The last thing you want to do is put your music out there and be unhappy with it.
Mate,
you know what I mean?
Definitely sonically anyway. I don't want if I was to send you a track and you're in a car and you put it on and like there's no bass to it or the bass is too loud.
The car speaker test is an old trick as well that people have got from recording, where you record in the studio with your high quality speakers and then you take that recording and listen to it on your headphones in your car in the places where the speakers are not the same, and that lets you know what the listener is going to experience.
Exactly,
because they're not going to be listening through high quality studio speakers in most cases.
But the car is always the one.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So the missus is still working on that. Well,
What's the longest that you've took? What are your songs you've taken?
Oh, mate, I've got tracks when I first started using Ableton that are still not finished.
But are they ones you're going to finish?
Probably not.
So that's what I'm saying. So if we take ones,
I
know what you mean. There's about 10 or 20 projects on my Ableton folder.
Tried 200.
Mate, I'm sure yous are up like crazy numbers.
Because this all my Reason and Pro Tools stuff, right? And when I first started using Ableton, I had on a hard drive, and it just stopped working one day, and I lost all my projects, all my samples, everything.
That's fucking.
Oh, it was devastating, and it's like I think I've still got the hard drive, and hoping one day that I'll be able to get it fixed. But I'll probably
Ed's are bad out.
aye. But it's been battered about. It's an old hard drive, man, for like 15, 20 years ago, probably.
I know people have got into crypto wallets that have been on computers for all sorts of times, and all smashed phones that have been, you know what I mean? So you can get into this stuff if you want. You know what I mean? Like as long as it's not, I think like as long as it's not been like burned in a fire or something.
Oh
you know
no,
what I mean?
no,
It's
I
like,
think I've still got it kicking about, mate. But it's one of the ones that all the tunes are pish on it anyway. You know what I mean?
So basically, a tune can take your it can
your
be 2
entire
years,
life,
it can
mate.
be 4
Your
years,
entire
it can,
life. But I'm getting better at kind of actually just starting a tune and then getting it
done.
finished.
Totally. I think that's part of the process as well, mate. Because when you start off writing, whatever music you're writing, you end up like you're going like, oh no, is this good enough? Oh, I could change that. I don't know, and eventually that process becomes much quicker. And you're like, cool, I'll write another one, get that one finished, and out now I've got 10 tunes, 20 tunes, whatever it happens to be.
But it's quite a lot of the time as well. If you're making a song and you're trying to find maybe a lead part if kind of fit him in the bass that you've got, you find like another sound that you think, oh, that sounds fucking brilliant, but no with this song.
Yeah.
So you start a new project.
Well, that totally.
So save as, you know what I mean? Delete all the stuff that was there, and then you've got this
thing with this new sound.
And then sometimes you're just like, well, I'll take a break for that one and I'll start this one. You know what I mean? So that happens. Like I maybe do that. I'll go through spells again in the studio, but I've been in quite a bit recently. And I've maybe started like 4 kind of new tracks. So the last kind of 2 weeks. One of them last night with Gal. And then I started one about 2 weeks ago, and I've almost got it finished. I'm at the stage now where it's like I'm listening to it through different speakers, but I need to go back in.
So is that? Do you think that's probably the quickest? Then you've got one from 0 to full.
Aye, but it's one of the ones that's like
it's not there yet. But
no, because I think I could go back in and actually add more kind of elements to the track and that. But I'm just kind of.
That is the everlasting problem.
And that's it. And it's not.
I can admit it.
Aye, and it's sometimes with my track, I'll create a full track before I start any processing, before I start any mixing. But this one, I kind of did it as I was going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know if this is the longer route. I don't know, because obviously I'm still learning the whole mix down, the whole mastering side of things and levels and that. So, I've kind of started doing this while I was making the track. So I still need to kind of add elements.
There's going to always be times, I think, when you can go, I'll add this in the new. But as long as that's not getting into the way of your creative process, I think that's fine.
I've learned that now and all. I'm not going to spend too much time. So I'll come back to it. I can get a lead, but let's try and work on the sounds that I've already got, trying to make fit in the mix. You know what I mean? So I'm at a stage now where I've turned all the volumes down. I've put my kick, my bass up, and then I build everything around about that. So if you get your kick and your bass working well, that's the key, because that's what people are going to feel on the dance floor. You know what I mean? And it's the best part about this, any kind of dance music, is the kick and the bass.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If you've got that groove going, then anything over on top of it is obviously.
It's extra, but you've got the essence of it there, totally.
You can't beat when a tune drops and it just drops right into the kick and the bass. You know what I mean? Brilliant. So
that's great. That's the famous drop in it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so you just kind of bring everything down, put them up, and if their levels of sound coming through the speakers, then you build everything around about that.
Yeah.
But try to obviously watch your master level. You don't want your master level too high. You want that kind of between 6 and 12, minus 6 and 12 dB. So there's an art in that as well. You know what I mean?
Getting it all to work even at that, like, it's as complicated and complex as just a whole new musical instrument. Do you know what I mean?
It totally is.
But it is also, what the cool thing about it is, it's also part of music from day one, and you know what I mean? Like, you're learning about the lows and the highs, you're learning, you know what I mean? You're learning about the levels and that, and eventually it all coalesces and comes to a point where things are happening faster, and that's what you're aiming for.
That's it. And like, I'm nearly there, mate.
Yeah, mate. I mean? That's good. That's an amazing point to be at, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like,
a lot more confident can sit in front of the computer than I was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Been doing it for years, but I would have it set up in the kitchen. I'd come in for work one night and I would spend 20 minutes. But see, because I'm just in my kitchen, sometimes it's cold, like you're hungry, and like fridge is there or the couch is there. It's just like, turn it off, you know what I mean?
Aye,
But when you're in
aye.
the studio, that's what I go there for.
Aye,
So you spend a good few hours
aye.
and you're like, it's just brilliant. Some nights you're like, I should have just went home. You know what I mean? You don't always have that kind of creative flow.
No, I
You know
mean,
yourself, mate.
no, totally, mate. Like, it doesn't always gel that night, but it's about that you had the buzz for it and you chased it for a while and chased doing that enough times.
Aye.
You see results.
Exactly,
do you know what I
mate.
mean? Like,
Exactly. So, I've got that kind of buzz for it. The now I'm in all the time. I'll probably go the night for a wee spell.
yep.
In fact, talking about DJing, I'm actually DJing tomorrow night
Oh yeah,
on
bro,
a
let
live
us
stream
know,
on
aye.
one of these web pages.
Where can folk find it? Tell us.
So it's through DDS. Chris, he runs DDS.
Yep.
And he's grab this now, mate. He's in touch with another kind of group.
Right.
So it's
These are all groups that were kind of formed in different areas.
well, I'm
before
assuming
the
they're all formed
pandemic.
through the lockdown and that.
Yeah,
Aye.
yeah.
So, Chris got me through, and it's like every Tuesday night. It's like the Scottish takeover. So this Scottish lassie takes over the radio station, every Tuesday for like 3 years. So me and Rab O'Donnell, you know Rab.
Yeah.
So we did a back to back with this. I did one last week, 2 weeks ago. So
I think I seen that posted actually.
Aye.
How did
so
that
as
go?
I
Was
was,
it good,
sound, mate. Aye,
Excellent.
obviously just a bit of live streaming. I'm saying I've not done it for ages, but I forgot about that.
Aye. Well, that's the first one for a while. And
Aye, so we've got it every 2 weeks now. So every second Tuesday we're going to do 9 to 10.
do a regular wee slot on it.
Aye.
Brilliant, man.
So you can find that on the DDS webpage, you know.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Chris
great.
does a lot of the sharing. We share it when it's on and stuff. So even my own Facebook and that will share it through that. So we'll do that every second Tuesday. We've just been like technoing it right up, but you know what I mean? We're actually like, well, we do something else, but closer to time we'll just we'll just
Stay
techno,
what you're
mate.
doing, mate.
Aye,
and if that's what you
we,
want to
we
bring
love
it,
mixing
like,
it. We love mixing with techno and
yeah,
that. It's,
man.
it's nice mixing with kind of house music and that, but see, kind of late on at night, it's especially me and Rab and all, it's like we love our techno. Man,
Aye,
so
totally. The techno folk definitely.
Aye.
For me, I like it as well, but it's at the right time. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
For me, if I'm generally wouldn't have it on in the middle of the day or that. But if it's a festival or a night or an event or something, it's great. You know what I mean? Fantastic. Right, mate. It's been fantastic having you in, man. But we're fast approaching the end of the episode.
already.
Yeah, aye, mate. Aye, well, that's us done like 52 minutes there. Nearly an hour.
Aye.
Nearly an hour. But I think it's one of the ones as well. Once you get going, it starts to fly. And you know
Aye,
what I mean?
defo.
Aye,
Aye, thanks
but
for
we'll
having
get
us.
you. Oh, no bother, mate. We'll absolutely get you back in again, man. If you want to come in and talk
Aye.
to us again, we've got stuff out of that. Let us know,
Aye,
you know what I mean?
sound. Aye.
And where can folk find your stuff online?
So, SoundCloud, Mixcloud's mainly for kind of DJ sets and stuff like that, but there's some DJ sets up there on Mixcloud and all.
What are you searching for?
Also, Grunholm.
Grunholm.
Aye, so it's like
HOLM.
aye,
Grunholm.
Aye.
HOLM, right.
so that was like a wee kind of alias years ago. The boys called me Grunholm because there was a rally driver called Marcus Grunholm. Funny enough. And obviously being Mark and that, so it just stemmed for that years ago for the boys. But I was kind of,
I was curious.
I always just kind of kept it, and I thought I'll just kind of use that as a wee alias, but I don't use that the now. So it's like it's there for when I kind of do. But see if I'm putting music, it's just Mark Hall the now until I get to that point where I'm flying solo. You know what I mean? I might use it for more kind of techno productions and that.
Yeah.
But I've got like a Facebook page that's not really kind of active at the moment, but my SoundCloud and Mixcloud and all. So
brilliant.
they're the kind of three places.
SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and your Facebook.
But I'm going to upgrade my SoundCloud. It's all older kind of songs on there. So I'm going to put some newer stuff up on that soon.
I put a few episodes of this up on it, and within 2 episodes I had reached my limit. I was like, what? This has got well bad.
Aye.
Like, I was shocked at it. Maybe the limit's always been like that, but I was.
Aye, it's obviously I'm only putting on like 6-minute tracks.
Totally,
and
mate.
that,
I can understand that for it as well, but I
You
was
can
just as I put an episode up, I was like, Jesus, you know what I mean? advert for a premium account. Straight
So,
in there. Aye, you know what I mean?
nah, sorry. I'll
Just
delete
stick on
one.
YouTube.
Look, more people use YouTube, mate.
Totally, mate.
You know
No,
what I mean?
maybe we'll get to the point where this will do that well that I can look at upgrading to
Aye.
other areas. But we are going to be on Spotify and that very soon as well.
Sound.
iTunes, podcast, Spotify, etc. That should probably be the case by next week, which is good. So very shortly, folks will be able to listen to us there. Thanks very much to everybody that's subscribed, followed, liked, shared. We've had a wee uptick in it, and it's been very nice to see, considering I had that YouTube account for so many years with nothing on it and no posting anything. So thanks very much to everybody for that. We'll be back with another episode very soon. See you then. Bye bye.
Welcome to the studio with Paul Shearer.